The Last Word with Matt Cooper.
John Gibbons, you haven't even started yet, and the text messages are coming in to say you've no idea what you're talking about. Here's one that says, if hare coursing is banned, there'll be no onus on the coursing clubs to preserve the hares. This will decimate the Irish hare, as has happened in the UK. So you could have the law of unintended consequences.
Good evening, Matt. Yeah, it's a funny one, this. First of all, under the Wildlife Act 1976, hares are officially designated as a protected species in Ireland. They have the same status, for example, as badgers, bats, hedgehogs, otters, pine martens and the red squirrel. And there's only about maybe 250,000 hares in Ireland. Now, probably important to say, first of all, these are a native species. They're also a solitary species. Now, what hare coursing basically involves is, to go back briefly to that Wildlife Act, it's really curious. If you look at the wording, it says that it is illegal. So if you or I decided to go out the country this evening and trap hares and bring them off, as pets or sell them or whatever, we'd be committing a crime under the Wildlife Act. However, a special derogation is written into the Act that you can't harm this protected species unless it is for coursing, which of course sounds like a loophole for a particular interest group. An interest group that I should say has remarkable political support in certain pockets of rural Ireland. I will also say this, Matt, most people in Ireland, and including in rural Ireland, absolutely reject the idea of capturing and torturing and tormenting wild animals.
When you say tormenting and torturing, tell us how the coursing actually works.
I'll just explain.
For those who are not familiar with it.
Of course, yeah. Well, first of all, roughly every year about 6,000 hares are captured. Now, they're captured by guys going out and basically setting netting traps and banging and screaming at them. So they capture them. Now, as I say, these are wild animals. They have no contact whatsoever with humans. So the very act of being captured is enormously traumatizing for them. Then they have to be, quote, trained. So they're kept captive for, on average, about 8 weeks. So they're trained as to which direction to run in a particular field. Then, when they're considered to be trained enough, then the greyhounds are let loose on them. Now, because of the work done back in 1983 by Tony Gregory, the late Tony Gregory, greyhound muzzles have to be fitted, which means the greyhounds don't get to actually tear the hares to pieces when they capture them. What they do instead, obviously plenty of hares still get injured and killed in this, but I think the most important thing is these are wild animals that are being used essentially for fun and entertainment. Now, the National Parks and Wildlife Service, Matt, did a study on this. It was a small sample study of 40 hares, and they were released and monitored. Now, 20 of these hares had been coursed and 20 hadn't. So what they found is after 6 months, they were able to identify and locate 8 of the 20 non-coursed hares. But of the coursed hares, only 1 of their 20 could be located. What that indicates, which, by the way, common sense would suggest, is once these animals are dumped back into the wild, traumatized, broken, terrified, their survival rate, of course, collapses. They're also broken away from their family groups, from their own locale. And who knows, by the way, if they're even dumped back remotely close to where they were taken in the first place. But it's a pretty barbaric idea. Let me put it to you this way. Imagine if hare coursing didn't exist and we decided to invent it. There would be absolute uproar in Ireland. People saying, are you absolutely mad? Would you leave wild animals alone? Who could get pleasure out of tormenting defenceless, harmless wild animals for their amusement? And that's all this is.
You say 6,000 hares a year are captured for use by the coursing clubs.
That's the figures provided by the Social Democrats and Jennifer Whitmore. She's put this forward in what she calls the Protection of Hares Bill 2023, and basically they're moving forward to try to have this ridiculous exemption from the 1976 Wildlife Act overturned, Matt, so that hares enjoy the same protection as a, quote, protected species. The bit we're forgetting about here is the protected bit. I think as well there's something kind of brutal about this pursuit. Now, I'm sure there are people listening now very upset at the idea that this is, but, do we really want, for example, our kids, other young people to think that it's okay to harry and torment wild animals? It is, to me, it's indicative of an incredible disrespect for wildlife. And the notion, by the way, that the people involved in hare coursing are somehow custodians of hares, I mean, seriously, pull the other one.